Hi, and welcome to Futures Discovery on John Luthian News. I'm your host, Cortez Draper, and on this program, we'll embark on the fascinating world of futures and learn from top professionals in the field. Today, we're immersing ourselves in the detailed exploration of the pivotal role of futures commissions merchants, commonly known as FCMs. These financial intermediaries play a crucial role in facilitating futures and options trading, serving as a linchpin in a complex web of derivative markets. Understanding the intricate responsibilities and functions of FCMs is essential for navigating the dynamic landscape of modern financial systems. First and foremost, FCMs are the trusted custodians on your futures journey. They handle orders for futures contracts, options on futures, and swaps. Imagine them as navigators, ensuring that your trades are executed seamlessly, margins are met, and your funds are securely held. That's not all. FCMs are not just transaction facilitators, they also hold a vast reservoir of knowledge. Think of them as financial gurus, offering their clients research, trading advice, and education. It's not just about executing orders, it's about understanding market dynamics. Now here's where it gets interesting. FCMs wear multiple hats, one of them being clearing members. They interface directly with futures exchanges and clearinghouses, ensuring that financial commitments are upheld. In other words, they're the guardians of market integrity. But they don't work in isolation. FCMs are team players, collaborating with brokers who introduce them to clients. They also work hand in hand with commodity trading advisors and commodity pool operators, facilitating trades and fostering a collaborative ecosystem. And let's not forget watchful eyes. FCMs operate under vigilant scrutiny of regulatory bodies like the CFTC and self-regulatory entities like the NFA. It's all about ensuring market integrity and protecting customer funds. So there you have it, the multifaceted role of the Futures Commission's merchant. They're not just intermediaries, they're architects of a seamlessly functioning futures marketplace. But this is just a quick overview of the role of the FCM. To gain a more insightful view and perspective on this important position, let's talk to Bob Fitzsimmons. Bob currently serves as Executive Vice President at Wedbush Securities, bringing a wealth of expertise towards our exploration. He has an extensive background in the financial industry. Bob has held key positions such as Managing Director, Head of Futures at Wedbush Securities, and a board member at Velocity Trade Holdings. Bob also currently sits on the board at Covenant House, Illinois. Today's episode is dedicated to unraveling the role of the FCM, Futures Commission's merchant. Bob's insight and experience makes him a perfect guide as we delve into the crucial role FCMs play in the financial landscape. Can you give just the audience a quick description of what a Futures Commission's merchant is, and elaborate on the responsibilities and functions they have on orders with different derivatives throughout the market?
And an FCM stands for Futures Commission Merchant. It plays a vital role. It's the equivalent of a broker-dealer on the security side. That's what most people are familiar with. And so what an FCM does, we evaluate clients, like when we bring them on in terms of suitability of products. We perform KYC, know your customer, AML. We can hold their money and we take orders from clients. We may recommend trades. Take it a step further, an FCM could be a clearing member of the exchange. So we're a member of the clearinghouse. And actually, that was kind of interesting a few years back when you look at FTX and when they were registering as an exchange, they were also going to be the clearinghouse. They were probably also going to be the market maker with their sister company, but they were also going to be the FCM, and that had enormous implications for the industry because they were essentially disintermediating the role of the FCM, and it became apparent in that process, at least in the FTX instance, that the vital contribution that an FCM makes, right? First and foremost, to the market structure, they bring all their capital to the community, and that would have been absent in the market structure that FTX was embarking on.
So how do FCMs, including your role at Wedbush Securities, contributes to clients' understanding of market dynamics and the education piece going along with being a client and interacting with these markets?
Going back to the 80s and even the 90s, people really didn't understand how futures worked, right? The notion of selling something that you did not own was really foreign to many people. They didn't understand how the delivery process worked. And actually, it was a book came out a few years ago called The Bond King. And it does a great job walking through how Bill Gross at PIMCO took delivery in the Ginnie Mae contract years ago. I think it was in the early 80s, and made an enormous amount of money because participants didn't really understand how that process worked. PIMCO literally had carts and vans out here in Chicago to take the physical delivery of those mortgages. But even options at the time were relatively new product, and people didn't fully understand how they worked. Even today, smart people get sort of confused about the Greeks associated with them. The Treasury bond basis is another example, right? How the various options that are embedded in them work, and that was designed by Doc Sander, and that's what makes it an interesting product and contract. But now, we probably spend more time talking about technology solutions for our clients. They're probably more interested in what switches we use in our network, what data centers we have that they can co-locate with us. And finally, the exchanges, as you alluded to, Bitcoin as an example, are always coming out with a new product, and it's our job to stay on top of it and help educate our clients into their uses.
And so we talked a little bit about your integration with clearinghouses and how you guys work as a clearing member as well. Can you explain how FCMs interface with futures exchanges and clearinghouses to uphold financial commitments, ensure integrity in the market as well?
Sure. I mean, if you look back at the history of the clearing firms over the years, they were family-owned businesses, right? And Wedbush continues with that tradition. Gary Wedbush, the CEO, reminds me on a daily basis, it's the family money you're putting up at that clearinghouse, Bob. So be very careful with it. So we put our clients through a rigorous onboarding process. We have a risk management program that's the underlying foundation. It's we talk about a risk management program. It's like raising a teenager, right? The policies and procedures, you constantly monitor them. We deal with many professional trading groups, which we like because they're trading their own money, and they're pretty vigilant about managing their risks because they're trading their own money. We like working with firms that are what I call arbitrageurs. They're really looking for small price discrepancies. They're essentially spreading between products. We like dealing with hedgers, such as farmers who are hedging crops. We've always stayed away from sort of that naked option selling. We don't think of that as a very good strategy. So, it's all about suitability and making sure that the client that we're dealing with has the financial wherewithal to meet the financial obligations of the products that they're trading.
Yeah, and I think that's important. When we look at risk anywhere in the market, understanding who you're interacting with, understanding what they bring to the table is an important role. I like that you added, this is family's money that he told you, because it's important. You're working with money that's at home, that's important, and you need to calculate your risk with everyone that you bring in. So it's nice to see that you guys, the kind of clients you guys take on, from arbitrageurs to hedging farmers. And so it's a good insight into the typical clients that, at least at Wedbush, that you guys take on when dealing with futures. Entities like the CFTC and the NFA, how does these regulatory oversights impact the day-to-day role and operations of the FCM? And what measures are in place to ensure market integrity and protect customer funds, like we've been talking about just a little bit already?
Protection of the customer funds is really what it drives everything, right? It is the overarching guiding principles. I don't want to be too dramatic about it, but it is sacred in our business, right? We have teams on the accounting side, the risk side, operations, compliance, legal, the senior management, all monitoring all activity around our clients' funds, right? Even as I'm sitting here right now, like emails are flying that pertain around sort of the protection of client funds. So that's the driving principle here within Wedbush and obviously within the industry.
In your role as Executive Vice President at WeBush Securities, how have you witnessed the role of the SCM evolve over the years, especially in light of technological advancements and changing market dynamics?
Most definitely have changed, right? When I started in the bond options, there were only quarterly expirations, and that's evolved into monthly, then weekly. Now we have daily expirations. We certainly have witnessed the transition from the open outcry in the pits on the floors to the screens. That sort of prototypical Ivy League athlete that I talked about is now morphed into a financial quant who's also a developer. The volumes have certainly exploded. Another sort of crucial change has been the growth in retail, right? futures products were always sort of industrial sized or institutional sized contracts. Now, we've gone to the minis, the micros. There's even nano contracts out there in the industry. So it's opening up an entirely new class of traders. There's also been this sort of what I'll call blending or the melding of the securities world and the futures world. In my mind, the securities world is always been about like capital formation, right? And the futures world is more about risk transference. But now you look at you just take a product like the S&P and see how many products exist and ways to trade it, right? There's the E-minis at the CME. There's the SPX over at the CBOE rather. And then there are ETFs and options on those ETFs are just a small example of the many ways that these products are sort of melding together.
We see things become faster. You talk about going from monthly to weekly to daily. We see a faster space. We also see a cheaper space too for market participants. We're talking about micros. It allows more participants to be involved in these markets. To see that change, I think, as you said too, retail traders to see more people interact with these markets, that plays a big role too. Me as a student in college, I'm able to see these markets in real time from my computer, from my desktop, and that's all part of the technological change as well. So it's interesting to see that perspective on the other side of the market as an FCM. So I appreciate that insight, Bob. Any other important aspects of the role of the FCM that you believe are crucial to highlight?
It's the capital requirements, right? That's very important for the FCM, and it's that sort of requirement has grown significantly since I started, right? And in fact, it's sort of doubled in my career. So when I started, the requirement for an FCM was about 4%. I think it was 4% of the maintenance margin, and now it's 8%. And you take for many years, we were in a zero interest rate environment, very little volatility in the futures business. It wasn't a place where a young person like yourself would say, geez, let me get into this business. But now with the volatility in the marketplace, higher interest rates, it's knock on wood. It's been a few good years here in the futures industry.
I want to know, based on your extensive experience, what advice would you offer individuals like myself, young into the industry, to navigate the dynamic landscape of futures trading and the role of the FCM?
It's interesting. I was at an event last year. It was sponsored by Linda Haven over at BMO. And I was at a table with other FCM representatives, and we were talking about, they were my age, a lot of gray hair, and we talked about how the industry has aged, right? And we've not done a very good job of bringing in the next generation. That partially had to do with, we had a zero interest rate environment for so many years, right? And there wasn't a whole lot of volatility. And now, as I mentioned earlier, the interest rates have crept up. There's and interest rates really drive the volumes at our exchanges. There's just the right amount of volatility that's in the marketplace that makes it interesting to trade. There should be an enormous opportunity for somebody like yourself, a bright, intellectually curious young person. I think there's a lot of opportunity in here. We have to start backfilling our personnel here with the next generation.
I appreciate that, Bob. And I think, for young kids and students and even professionals out there in the market interested in the space, it's good to hear that you guys are looking for people that are looking to get after it and learn more about the space, because I can only imagine that there needs to be a little bit more influx and people finding the groove into futures markets and options markets, especially as they continue to expand with retail investors and just interactions in the whole space. And you talk about some of those factors like interest rates playing a part into why it's been growing over recent years. And so it's good to hear that. And so to the audience out there, and I'm definitely, thinking about it myself, engaging in those markets and engaging in those roles is definitely something top on the list and that I'm interested in. So it's great to hear that, Bob.
So Cortez, you're speaking my language, right? When you talk about getting after it, right? That's what we do here at Wedbush. So, I love your thinking.
Yeah, well, I already know that's coming from your long time, a football player, athlete. Getting after is kind of ingrained. I play sports myself, so having that mentality is kind of how you got to attack a lot of things in life. And so I know we're here with the mentality aspect of it, Bob. So it's great to hear that, and I think that's another important point to add too for a lot of our audience is that you got to have that getting after it mindset to kind of attack things even when you're unsure and there's uncertainty. just go after it. And I think you exemplify that, Bob, and I appreciate you adding that as well. We appreciate your time and insights into the role of FCM. Your wealth of experience and expertise have provided a unique and enriching perspective, contributing significantly to our exploration of the dynamic world of financial futures. Thank you for being a part of Futures Discovery.
Thank you for including me. I appreciate it.
If you're enjoying our exploration of futures on Futures Discovery, be sure to check out Options Discovery, hosted by ESMA, to get a more holistic view and a better understanding of derivative markets.